Hello and welcome to this week's Prep Rally from Luzier Stadium behind Madison La Follette High School. I'm Rob Hernandez. He's Dennis Semrau. Dennis, our WisconsinPrepZone.com game of the week this week. A very intriguing playoff battle here. Madison La Follette playing host to Madison Memorial. Both teams come into the game 3-3. But as we look at the final 2 weeks of the season, almost a must-win game for Madison La Follette if the Lancers want to get into the postseason.
Yeah, Lancers close at Middleton, which is Middleton's homecoming. That's a tough game, definitely for the Lancers. You look at this matchup all year long, it's kind of pointed, we figured, to the end of the season. If both teams want a chance at the city title, well, they lost to West, so West is in the driver's seat there, but it's that playoff spot. That's up for grabs.
We should talk about it. It's been a good year for City football. I know City football at times has taken its lumps because they haven't been competitive. They haven't gotten teams to the postseason like last year. And now they're in a position where potentially 3 teams could go on. What's changed this year, in your opinion, Dennis? Why are we seeing an upswing here in City football?
Well, some continuity in coaches. There's a new coach at East High School this year, but Greg Milewski's been at West for a long time, and Mike Galindo's settling in at Memorial. And then you look over at La Follette, Mike Harris, his team, it's taken a couple of years to kind of get his system involved. But some good young coaches in the conference, and they've got some good youth programs, trying to get those feeder programs, just like Verona and Sun Prairie and Middleton already have.
Dennis, as far as the matchup here at the Luzier Stadium on Friday night, Memorial brings a high potent passing attack led by Joe Ferguson. La Follette, though, we've seen them play some pretty good defense, obviously holding Sun Prairie, I believe it was, to a Craig Evans touchdown. How do you see that matchup colliding between the high-powered offense and what appears to be a pretty good La Follette defense?
Well, anytime you have to deal with the spread, and Joe Ferguson, he's passed for 11 touchdowns, also rushed for 11. He is their leading rusher, so you've got to know where he is at all times on the field. He's also making plays on the other side, but I think it's going to come down to which team's defense rises to the occasion. Starting from Ward 1, La Follette back in the scrimmage. They shut out Rapids. They shut out, I think, every team in that scrimmage and kind of set a message. This would be a different year. So for them, I think it begins on defense. Memorial, though, on offense, they'd have 8 receivers out there if they could. And Ferguson has not played favorites. He's thrown touchdowns to just about everybody.
Well, we'll see. It's our WisconsinPrepZone.com game of the week, Friday night, 7:30, right here at Luzier Stadium, Madison La Follette and Madison Memorial. Dennis, as we look around the area, Southern Badger Conference, another game with some playoff implications. Madison Edgewood, 4-2 overall, 3-1 in the conference. At Stoughton, the Vikings 3-3, 2-2. If Stoughton loses this game Friday night, then they're in must-win mode next week at Monroe. How do you see that breaking down? Can Stoughton take care of business this week against Edgewood?
Well, Edgewood had a good game against Portage. Al Minert won his 200th career game last week. Hats off to Al for that. But that was a non-conference game. And meanwhile, in the conference, Stoughton had a tough game with Fort Atkinson. That's a team that's just gotten better and better all the way through the season. So, playoff implications, Edgewood can clinch theirs outright. But Stoughton, you felt they were a playoff team all year long. They've had a couple of tough losses. They really need to win out. And considering they lost, a tough one last week to Fort Atkinson, they've got the work cut out for them.
That's the big game in the Southern Badger Conference, 7 p.m. Friday night at Stoughton. Dennis, in the Northern Badger, Mount Horeb-Barneveld at Reedsburg. A huge game for Mount Horeb-Barneveld because looming in the wings in Week 8 is that game at home against Waunakee, but you can't look past the Beavers, even though Reedsburg coming off the tough loss to Waunakee.
No, you set that up for me just right. Well, first week, it's Reedsburg and Waunakee. Then it's Reedsburg hosting Mount Horeb. And then Week 8, I'm going to be at Mount Horeb for Waunakee because that one's going to definitely impact the conference title. Reedsburg had a tough game last week with Waunakee. They played well. They just could not get anything going offensively. Waunakee's special teams were outstanding. Now you look at a Mount Horeb-Barneveld team who's had a lot of skilled players. The difference this year is their linemen on both sides, big, fast. They've been able to average, close to 40 points pretty much all season long. So Reedsburg, considering their offense really struggled last week, they're going to have to get some points on the board early. Mount Horeb's going to score a lot early and often.
Well, we'll see if the schedule makers indeed bracketed that conference down the stretch with the Northern Badger. If Mount Horeb-Barneveld can take care of Reedsburg, then that sets up the classic Week 8 showing between Mount Horeb-Barneveld and Waunakee. Dennis, looking around the area Rock Valley Conference, a couple games I wanted to get to. Jefferson at Broadhead Judah, as it's crossover week in the Rock Valley, and East Troy at Orfordville Parkview. The two teams that are in contention in the South for playoff berths, Parkview and Broadhead Judah. If one of them doesn't win this week, and if both of them lose, they face each other next week, and the winner of that game goes to the playoffs. When's the last time Broadhead Judah's been in that position?
Not for a long time. And when it comes down to that, Boy, it couldn't be any better. I mean, for both teams to have that kind of pressure. You don't want to look ahead to that last game.
Right.
You got to take care of business right away. And coaches talk about that 1-0 philosophy. It's coming to roost this week.
Oh, it sure is. A lot of excitement in the Rock Valley Conference. Those crossovers that count in the standings have sure made things exciting. One final game to get to, and that's in the Southwest Wisconsin Conference. River Valley playing at Lancaster. River Valley took care of Platteville in much the same way Lancaster did a few weeks ago. It makes this matchup look pretty intriguing. Seth Legal and the River Valley Blackhawks against the Wishbone offense of the Lancaster Flying Arrows. Anybody stopping the Arrows? And if so, can Seth Legal be the guy?
Well, we've picked Lancaster all year long to be a state tournament team and a state final team. River Valley has something to say about it. And boy, if we could clone ourselves, and there's a few games we want to be in, I'd definitely like to be at that one, and that's where you'll be.
That's where I'll be, and it should be a high-scoring affair down at Lancaster between Lancaster and River Valley. A lot of huge games this week. Of course, check in for our live blog Friday night on wisconsinprepzone.com. We'll have updates from throughout the area, throughout the state, as all these games with such huge importance on conference title races and as far as playoff berths go. So check out wisconsinprepzone.com Friday night. Of course, look for our wisconsinprepzone.com game of the week, Madison Memorial, Madison La Follette, highlights and interviews after the ball game on wisconsinprepzone.com with Todd Milewski. For Dennis Semrau, I'm Rob Hernandez. Thanks for watching Prep Rally this week. We'll see you at the stadium.